Hey everybody, it's Scott Steen with the winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with this Saturday edition of Today in Sports Betting. Congratulations, you made it through the week. It's Saturday, everybody, and it's playoff basketball, sort of. And who better to break down than today's massive NBA card than my partner in crime, the one, the only, my right-hand man. It is Scott Reichel. Scotty, how are you?
Doing pretty well. Looking forward to the play-in playoff basketball invitational, or whatever you want to call it.
The first annual play-in playoff. It's going to be.
It's the best to two, unless you're Portland. Then it's best to one. So, I don't know what to call that. It's not really a 3 out of 5. It's not really a 1 out of 2. I don't know.
No, it's something, all right. So we've got the Orlando Magic, who I don't know if you'd call that an epic choke job to fall to the 9 spot. The Blazers played good basketball.
You mean the Memphis Grizzlies?
What do they say?
The Orlando Magic.
The Orlando Magic. Why?
They're in the 8th seed. I mean, they choked away the 7th seed. If that
you know why? Because that's what I wrote down. I wrote down Orlando.
They're in Orlando, if that's what you meant.
God knows what I was thinking, Scott. It's been a long day. This is the first one. Full disclosure, this is the first one that we're doing late at night.
You got to cut down. You got to cut down your drinking in the afternoons now.
Oh yeah, day drinking is not my friend. I can't honestly remember the last time I day drank. It's probably double-digit years. Once you hit about 30, 35, Scott, the day drinking, it really gets you.
I believe in the business we say that he's due. So we'll see how that works out in the future.
The what? Oh, the
that
what? Yeah. All right, so the Grizzlies and the Blazers. Grizzlies, again, kind of a choke job. Didn't play well in the bubble at all. Blazers played well. Suns played better. I was really rooting for the Suns there, Scott. I got to tell you.
I don't think anyone was rooting for Memphis.
Nobody was rooting for Memphis. No. Maybe people that lived in
Tennessee,
lived in Memphis, and Mark Cohen probably.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, the Grizzlies are the 9. They've got to win 2. Blazers just have to win 1. Portland -6. 232.5 is your total right here. Scott, you know where the money's going to be, although I guess early money came in on the Grizzlies, right? You said this originally opened at -7. It's now at -6.
Yeah, I even see 5.5 on Fox Bet, so I've seen the line kind of drop a little bit, but I'm assuming it's not from the public. I have to assume the public's going to be backing Lillard as much as possible, right?
Well, it wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, it would appear that's the case, but yeah, I've got it now at 5.5, and it's a little bit of juice on the Portland side, laying the 5.5. Scott, do you agree with this line move?
I think the logic could potentially be the fact that Memphis has to win this game. It's a must-win, and technically, it's not a must-win for Portland, I guess. So maybe that's in the back of their minds,
right?
Potentially. I don't think that's really going to matter. I think Portland wants to end this as soon as possible. But that's a possibility where you can make the argument saying if Memphis is going to go all out and play all the starters 40 minutes and Portland goes down early, do they throw in the towel and wait for game 2? I don't necessarily know.
It's possible because, as much as we like Lillard in the Portland offense, this defense is what do you say?
It's the worst defense I've seen in the bubble besides maybe the Pelicans. I think it's a coin flip.
Yeah, it's dreadful. It's absolutely dreadful. This defense is. I don't. This is a tough one for me because this is a team. This is a Portland team that you want to like them. They had that nice run last year. Lillard has certainly caught fire at the right time. The question becomes: is Morant and the rest of the Memphis offense, do they have enough to counteract Lillard and everything since they'll be going against that dreadful defense of the Trailblazers?
Yeah, well, I know that they had one of the best matchups in the bubble, which went to overtime in the beginning of the restart. But I know that Jaren Jackson also went nuts in that game, and he's not available. So you have to wonder how much that's going to hurt as well. The one thing that we were talking about before we went on air was how Memphis is kind of the opposite of Portland. Even though they are good at offense, they're significantly better on defense.
Yeah.
And I feel like one thing that we were also talking about, we don't know how this game is going to be reffed. As some people have noticed, playoff basketball tends to let you get a little bit more chippy.
A little more freewheeling.
It's not the same as it was in the 90s when, Ewing and Oakley would just clock you in the middle, but I think you know what I mean. When I say that the refs are a little bit more hesitant to blow whistles on every single hand check, if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you think it's going to be refed, because if it's a regular season game, 232 sounds a bit low, if I'm being honest with you, with Portland playing.
Let me ask you this: when you saw the kerfuffle tonight, of course, as they watch this, it'll be last night between Harden and Joel Embiid. What was your first thought there, Scott?
My first thought was D'Antoni really decided to put Harden into the game, even though he just killed Westbrook about 2 days ago.
That's what I thought. My first thought was, what in the hell are those guys doing still in the game?
Embiid, I guess, because he's trying to work back from maybe a leg injury, so he's trying to get some reps. But I don't get that either. The Harden one makes no sense to me.
No,
but based on the kerfuffle, whatever you want to call it, I thought it was weak. I give it a 1 out of 10. They just exchanged stares at each other, and I didn't really care that much.
They teed up Harden.
I'm sure he complained about it
for throwing the basketball. Yeah, I'm sure he did. But yeah, that was my first thought when that's
an interesting moment. You're looking at, these games mean nothing. Wait, why are some of the starters on the floor? What are we doing?
I swear to God, that was my first thought when that came across my phone. That you got to check out this fight. Like, why is Harden in the game? Why is Embiid in the game? So, all right. So back to the game. Back to the game today, Scott.
Well, that touches upon the referees, though. I know that that's a segue that doesn't really have to do with the actual match.
That was kind of my point. Are the referees going to be conscious? They've had a couple problems. Giannis got suspended for a game. You and I agree.
Forget about all the suspension stuff, because for headbutts. I'm just talking about specifically the fourth quarters of basketball games in the bubble have been terribly officiated. I'm just going to break it down. If you want to talk about pretty much every Portland game that they've had down the stretch, the Nets game was fine. That wasn't that much of an issue. But the top of my head, I think of the Mavericks game against Portland. That game, despite being so close, was so painful to watch for stretches because the refs couldn't stop giving away free throws. It was so painful that it killed the entire flow of the game.
It was like watching a bad college game sometimes. You'll get crews in college games like that.
The teams are in the double bonus with 12 minutes to go in the second half. What is that?
Exactly right. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Which is important to mention because of the total. Because 232, you're thinking to yourself, or 232 and a half, Portland probably shouldn't be anywhere below 240 at this point. They can't guard anybody. But Memphis has played better defense, and their offense isn't as potent as it was a while back. Still pretty good. I think that if it's going to be officiated like a regular season game, especially with late game free throws and desperation fouling if Memphis is behind, they should break 240, right? Assuming it's going to be officiated as a regular season game.
Yeah, I'm torn on this because Memphis Memphis is a classic under team. They play great defense. They're a little weak on offense, especially without Jaren Jackson. So my first thought is anytime Memphis is involved to take a hard look at the under, but then you look at the way Lillard is played, and you look especially at this dreadful Trailblazers defense, and you kind of have to go, yeah. And then
let me ask you a question: Do you like Portland supporting cast, assuming that they double Lillard every time he touches the ball?
I do. I think they played well.
Does the McCollum fractured back bother you?
Yeah. That's any pieces you lose this time of year and supporting cast, I think it's going to make a difference.
I think Gary Trent's great. I think that Collins is useless. I think Azonia shouldn't be on the floor. Other than that, Melo was terrible against the Nets, but overall has been pretty good ever since he came to Portland. Yeah. I think the supporting cast is fine, but I think in reality, the reason why I bring this up is we talked about it before. The Lillard player prop totals over under 38.5. I don't know about you, but unless your name's Michael Jordan or Kobe, I'm not taking 38.5.
That's so strong. But then again,
I don't know who else is going to score. Unless Memphis literally just triple teams them.
Everything's going to run through them. Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to get involved in any player props. I like the Blazers there. I do worry about a backdoor cover. The 5.5
makes me feel better about that, though.
Yes, you're getting there. I'd feel better
I feel better around 4.5.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel better south of 5, but and it may be there. We'll see how this line movement, because again, this is gonna be there could be a big change when this opens tomorrow morning too. There could be some significant movement, so we'll see what happens.
Now, I don't want to get into. I know that the first half's usually a guessing game, especially in these type of elimination games. Since this game technically means more to Memphis than it does to Portland, do you think there's some value on Memphis on the first half, maybe as a money line at a plus price?
Yeah, I think that's I think
Because Portland was also trailing to the Nets in their last game in the first half. They have not been. But they gave up 73 points in the first half to the Nets.
yeah, that's a team that could definitely come out strong. That and I could see that happening, and then the more talented team wearing them down there.
Mm-hmm.
This is a classic as far as the total goes. I'm looking at the quarantine stats. Portland is 7-1 to the over, and Memphis 6-2 to the under. So I don't. Again, these two teams played each other first game in the bubble, and it was a 140-135. But you're right, that was the game that Jaren Jackson went off. So I
also went to overtime, so that also added a bunch of points to the equation.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, but I didn't remember that game in particular.
It was 100. They both had roughly 120. I believe it was 4 points going into overtime, so they both went over anyway.
So
you ended up with a huge score because it went to overtime.
Yeah. Okay. So they were both. It
was over before overtime anyway.
Because 225 was the number there. So, this Portland defense hasn't given up. They've been dreadful, especially the last 4 games. They haven't given up less than 122.
They're terrible.
Yeah, in any of their contests there. I'm sorry, they gave up 121 to the Sixers, which is
now one thing I have to ask you though. Memphis the entire season has played a somewhat surprising up-tempo style, which is exactly what Portland likes to do. Do you think any part of Memphis tries to slow it, or do you think they just decide if we do that, it's going to ruin our offense also? We kind of just have to play the same speed they do and just hope we do it better.
No, I think Memphis is going to play at their same methodical play.
I feel the same way because I feel like if you do that, you lose your identity. But I'm just bringing that up because Portland, as you know, has one of the most potent offenses in the entire league, and they play arguably at an even faster pace. So maybe that's just something that's food for thought.
You can look up and be 8 points down pretty damn fast.
Yeah.
So, all right. So time for your final picks, but I'm going to stay away from the total. And I am just going to play Portland minus the 5.5. I think this Memphis team. I think they're a nice story, but I think
you think that you think that they're about to turn into a pumpkin.
I do. I think it's they had a nice game against the Milwaukee Scrubs, but other than that, they played pretty dreadful basketball, with the exception of the inexplicable 30-point victory over the Thunder. Other than that. Not good at all. And I like this Portland team. That's won 6 of 8 in the bubble, and they've covered their last 3, covered 6 of 8. I'm a numbers guy, man, and at the end of the day, I think the value play is going to be on Portland minus the 5.5.
Give or take. The question is, do you think this line's going to move for Portland or for Memphis as we get closer to tip? Because we're roughly 12 hours out.
I would imagine I'm
assuming the public's going to slam Portland tomorrow.
That's my guess. I don't think we're going to get any lower than 5 or 5.5. So I probably will lock that up before I go to bed tonight, actually.
So for my thoughts on the game, first of all, I'm going to be doing a Scott Selections play on this, and I actually just figured out what I'm going to do. Okay. So I'm going to be doing that later. But for this matchup, just based on the spread and the total, I am going to lean to – I think I'm just going to go with Memphis first half.
Okay.
I think Memphis first half at plus 3.5 has some value to it at minus 110 because Portland has come out a little bit slowly, did the same thing against Dallas as well.
Yeah.
This team likes to play offense. They're somehow even worse defensively in the first half. And I think Memphis, knowing – that everyone's on Portland, everyone thinks we're going to get destroyed. We're here, nobody thought we would be. It's such a classic BS coach rallying cry in the first half type of speech. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's against us. We're out here. Let's put the game out on like a 12-2 run.
Play the underdog card. I could see that. I also think that Portland outscores Memphis in the second half by 15 or more.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Memphis will run out of gas, but I think in the first half, I think they will keep it close. So for that reason, I'll lean to Memphis. Riskier play. First half, plus 3.5. I have an issue with Memphis plus the 6. I thought about it, but in reality, so many late-game free throws for desperation teams, and now that it's even more desperation, I don't want to be going against a free throw contest between Lillard and McCollum late in the game.
Right.
I'm going to skip that. I'll go with the first half plus 3.5.
All right, good enough. All right, there we have it. So it's playoff basketball, kids. Seems like just a couple of weeks ago it was regular season. The regular season started, but good times. I think once the actual playoffs going to get started, I think it's going to seem a little more normal. You think maybe?
It should be. You're going to see a lot of familiar faces, probably making deep runs. So that should be the same story as it always is. The one advice I'd give to you is that if you are interested in actually betting on the series, or any of the series, you should probably bet them now, because I've already seen some line movement on a decent amount of these. I gave out a 2-pick parlay earlier this afternoon on some series spreads. So check that out if you want to. But I'm assuming you'll agree, without much else to bet on. I know hockey's in full swing, but a lot of people aren't exactly betting hockey unless you're actually into the sport. Baseball's also a thing, but everyone loves the NBA. I'm assuming you'll agree there's going to be a lot of movement with some of these props. Or series prices.
Big swings. Yeah, the prop market, those swings are always huge. Huge. And to anybody that's interested, I'm going to be starting my premium service again on Monday. So I wanted to wait for playoff basketball. I wanted to wait for all the silliness to kind of stop and the smoke to clear. So we'll be firing up premium picks again on Monday. So if you're interested, anybody's interested there, you can reach out to Winners and Winers and they'll take care of you. So you like the first half plus 3.5 on the dog. That's a nice thing.
It's minus 110. I think you'll agree that there's a better chance of Memphis starting out strong and fading late than Portland starting out strong and then Memphis makes some thrilling comeback in the second half. I just don't see that happening.
Having said that, that's probably exactly what will happen. But I do
correct. But I think that there is definitely some value on plus 3.5. And the line movement I find a little bit concerning for Portland, because maybe it's the defense. Maybe it's the fact that people are discouraged that the Nets almost lost to the Nets almost beat Portland in a must-win game, which definitely doesn't look too good on a resume. But I don't know. I think Memphis has a serious chip on its shoulder. And I know people are criticizing Portland. I know Lillard's going to claim he still has a chip on his shoulder. Do they really have a chip on their shoulder anymore now that they actually made it into the dance? The issue is making it into the 8-9 matchup. That was kind of the main purpose.
Right.
You think that fades a little bit?
The upper hand.
Of course they want to go against the Lakers, which is now their next goal. But if their whole rallying cry in the bubble was, let's make the 8-9 matchup, let's do it. And Memphis's logic was, all right, we're going to be the 8th seed, let's go. I kind of think the chip on the shoulder kind of switches to Memphis, don't you think?
Oh, it does. Everybody's written them off. Everybody's been talking about how bad Memphis was, like I just did.
I think that's a good first half spot for Memphis.
No question. I agree. All right, so I've got Portland full game. You got Memphis for first half. Now all I have to do is just sit back and collect our winnings. But I hope we both win.
Hopefully. I know I'm going to be making, I guess, another play technically on Scott's selections later. So stay tuned for that.
You're a busy man.
Yep.
All right, so make sure that you check out Winners and Winers for deep dives into this game.
And we got a baseball show coming up in
the other game. We're going to be doing our baseball show, yeah. So stay tuned. If you haven't got enough of us yet, go ahead and click on the next video. Hit the baseball show, and I'll be doing a video on this game as well from one of our handicappers over at Winners and Winers. So check that out. All right, so much for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us over here at winnersandwiners.com. Appreciate you stopping by. Have a great day. Hope you hit all of your bets today, and let's have some fun. Let's make some money. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.